Every town has its own story of the first time black students were allowed to attend schools previously reserved for white students. On November 12, 2014, 50 years after LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act into law, 50 years after Ruby Bridges entered the doors of an all-white school in New Orleans, 50 years later on this date, a class of 5th and 6th grade writing students came together at Meridian School in Round Rock, Texas, a school that celebrates the fact that 66 languages are represented among its student body. This class came together to discover its own story.
You guys are all here because you chose to write, and you came in here. So the first thing we did is we found your voice. We're going to challenge you, as my teachers did to me, to take it a little bit further. There was a time when if you were Mexican, you went to the Mexican school. And if you were black, you went to the black school. There was a certain point where people chose to act. They chose with their writing or their actions to make change. So today we have some very important visitors who chose to do something. And you know what, guys? That's what heroes are. Heroes are ordinary people.
I attended Hopewell High School from what we call then Primer. I finished school here in Round Rock in 1964. I graduated valedictorian. But my second semester in school, as it was during the Civil Rights, when the Civil Rights Bill was passed, I wanted to go to school here at the Round Rock High School. So my father and I went to Noel Grissom's home because he knew him personally. He had done work on his house. My father was a carpenter. And we went up there and talked with him, and I told him I wanted to go to Round Rock High School, and he looked at us real funny. Well, it'll have to be introduced to the community, and they'll have to vote on it. And Daddy looked at me and he said, "Thank you, Mr. Grissom, but we don't think that it's necessary for it to have to be a vote because the law has already been passed, but thank you anyway." So we left. So it took another 2-3 years before they allowed a black to go to Round Rock High School. And thank goodness for Anthony. He was our first black student, and he excelled in everything.
I said to my older cousin that I'd heard that freedom of choice was now an opportunity for the school system. And his casual statement was, "It's a shame that no one's going." And impulsively, I confess to you, I said in that car, 60 Corvair, going to Taylor, Texas, that I'm going. It was impulsive. It was not planned. It was not something that I thought a lot about. It was simply a 15-year-old who had opened his mouth and said he was going. And once I said I was going, I couldn't take it back. And so I was the single African American in my sophomore year, the 10th grade. And I carried consciously within my spirit that in going to Round Rock High School, people were going to get ideas about what Negroes were like through interacting with me. And I had taken it upon myself to be the very best student that I could be, because I felt that attitudes would develop based upon how I carried and conducted myself. The coach of Round Rock High School at that time, Mr. Nelson, met me in the hallway and told me that I was coming out for football. I'm not saying that he asked me, I'm saying that he told me. And he rearranged my schedule, and I became an athlete. I had not intended to become an athlete. I wanted to succeed as a student. And I remember those that were supposed to block for me purposefully did not block for me and allowed me to get hit. Well, instead of taking that first lick on the practice field of being ready to fight, I got a grinning. And it seemed from that moment on, there was an acceptance through the athletes of my presence. And it was something that smoothed out the way. But it was not something people were used to. The school board passed a resolution that there would be no more school-sponsored dances. And so my presence caused some Round Rock students not to have the social event, because I think there was a fear that I might come and I might end up dancing with the wrong person. And since I was the only one, there was no one for me to dance with. There were times, in fact, one instance through the situation of feeling isolated, that I didn't really belong, that I had put a distance between myself and my community, that I literally went home and cried across my grandmother's lap, almost as if I wanted to return back to Hopewell, because for a while I felt so isolated that I didn't belong, and she said, "You can't go back, you've got to see it through." It was very different back then than what it is now.
We are heroes. We don't let history change us. We change history. Not the great heroes and legends and epics. We are different, in a good way. We are not born amazing. We make ourselves amazing. Like freeing a country with the power of one's voice, or leading a huge cause for equal rights. Though it may seem like we are superheroes, but we're only normal. And that's okay.
Anger is what is wrong with the world, you say. Jealousy is a crime, you say. Discrimination is outrageous, you say. But complaining is all you do.
I like because it says complaining is all you do. It just shows that most people in the world just say, well, I wish this could be the thing, but it's not going to happen anyways. But the heroes in the world, they make action like that.
And you guys can do that with your voice. And the way that you can do it, you can say it, and then you might be speaking to one person or whoever's just around. But when you write it, and then you publish it, it gets out into the world, your words get out there, and people read it, that's when social change can happen. That's when justice can happen, okay? And action can happen. So your voices are making a difference. Your words make a difference.